Well, women in my generation, there weren't too many opportunities open for us. About in 38 and 40, and a lady in the South could only do certain things. She could teach school, and she could maybe be a nurse and a homemaker, and that was about it. And so I decided that home economics solved both things. I never really wanted to be anything but a wife and a mother. And if I took home economics, I could learn to be a better wife and mother. But I also could, if I had to earn a living, I'd have a way to do it. So that's why I chose home economics, because of the age and time. Now, I don't know what I would do today. That would be different. The curriculum, when you look at it, people think it's just cooking and sewing. It never has been. We had a wider educational background in many different areas. And in fact, my master's work was almost all chemistry because it was foods and nutrition, and that's what it is. We had a well-rounded education, so I've never been ashamed of it or sorry I did anything else. Well, each one of us had to live half a turn in the home management house. So when you were a home economics major, you had to learn to manage a home. And that's what home economics, it was the money management in the home is what it really was. So therefore, you had to learn about food preparation was a big part of the expense of the family. And you realize coming from the Depression times, then this was extremely important, and that's when home economics developed, was to be able to make the most of family resources, no matter what they were. In our classes, we were taught how to make furniture out of orange crates. We were taught how to take men's worn-out trousers that were worn in the seat, and to make a skirt out of the legs that were not worn. I remember we took some old wicker furniture and we upholstered it. We padded it with cotton and put slip covers on it so it looked like we were taught to make do with whatever we had. One of the professors went to attended Tech, majored in home ec. She made all of her clothes out of flour sacks because they really didn't have any money, and they looked like, she got the solid colors so they looked like linen, and made some really very beautiful clothes. And she taught clothing construction later at LSU from her beginnings of flour sacks.
Who is that?
That was Lorraine Phillips, but she's gone now.
Going to college in 1940 was not easy financially. I have an aunt who lived in Baton Rouge, my mother's sister who lived in Baton Rouge, and I lived with her during the time I was a student at LSU. She was superintendent of nurses at the Baton Rouge General Hospital, and we lived on Government Street, not far from the hospital, which was on Government Street then. And we would walk down to Ferdinand Street and catch a ride. People would pass by on the way to the university and hold up 2 fingers or 3. They could take 2 people or 3 people, and we always hoped somebody would come along and pick us up, and we didn't have to use the money for the bus. I had not taken home economics in high school until I was in my senior year, junior or senior year, I can't remember which. But I always enjoyed cooking and sewing at home. And I guess I had this interest in math at the time. And I didn't know whether I was going to major in math or not. And when I walked into the gym, the home ec table was closer. But anyway, I ended up at the home ec table. When I came back to LSU, I lived as an instructor for a number of years. And the boys came back from the war. Girls were getting married. And we did not have married students before this, you see, until after the war. And then you had couples on the campus. And it was difficult to say to them, and this was a requirement for all home economics majors at that time to live in the home management residence. And it was difficult to say to them, you know, you've got to leave your husband for 9 weeks and come live in this home management house situation. So we were beginning to realize that this was not the best way to handle teaching home management. It was an excellent way, but it was not practical. We started experimenting. And I remember Elizabeth Tucker had a group of couples that lived in the Morris house, 3 couples. The boys just agreed to do it. They didn't get any credit for it, but they agreed to assume responsibility to see what it was like. And it was an interesting experience to have men doing these household jobs because they looked at them, they approached it from a completely different point of view. I never forget the day I walked in the kitchen one day and here was this boy drying, we didn't have dishwashers then, drying the dishes, and he was rolling up, he had a dish towel out there and he put all the silver in the dish towel and rolled it up and just shook it. It was a quicker way to dry those forks and knives. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. But it changed nationwide. It was not only here. This system of teaching, which served it was a wonderful way to teach. In fact, right now, I can visualize on the campus. I would love to have some of those students living in a home management house like that, because the relationships that you developed and how you lived with people were so vibrant in a situation like that. I had girls who were all good friends, sorority sisters, who would come to the home management house and leave being almost enemies. So we had to work with the students, and we would have a meeting every week about the problems we'd had this past week, and how we worked them out, and how could it have been done differently. That was a good experience.